What a joy to be visited by a hummingbird. The conservation sunflowers are opening. The sunny side and the shady side. Can really tell a difference in the microbiome here. Some little green pumpkins are setting. It's starting to take over the asparagus beans. The asparagus beans are asparagus beaning. As I look across my rows, I feel content. I've got celery growing in here, a couple late turnips, and fennel going into bloom. I took about a half a pound of shelling peas last weekend. This might be their last flush, so I might leave these ones on to go to seed. Well, I'll just pick them and eat them. Bush beans amongst the volunteer sorghum. The leeks are starting to bolt one by one. I leave them in the ground as long as possible. If they don't bolt by frost, the frost is supposed to sweeten. Look at this corn coming up. I planted intermittent pole beans in amongst the corn. So I've got 4 of these, and I planted them thickly so that the harvester ants and whatever else comes in here and eats my stuff can have their share. Here's something else kind of cool. Who lives in there? You know? It's a toad. That's a toad hole. The toads love my garden. There was another one there, but I watered and it kind of caved in. Yeah, so the corn and beans are coming up on these 4 rows. And I've got 6 more empties. Six empties where once there were onions. But on the ones I've showed you earlier, I've got native pumpkins and melons, bush beans. This is planted with tomatillos. Those might take a while to germinate. Beans. I think either melons or pumpkins. Beans. Now here, these. Can you see that? Yeah, there it is. I think that is a tomatillo. Pretty sure these ones are pumpkins. I skipped over where the anthill is. It's not fun to work soil where the harvester ants are. They deliver a nasty bite. And the okra, developing nicely. Need to chop and drop some of this volunteer sorghum. Another row of okra, not orca. All right, here's some pole beans. Starting to reach for the sky. The turkeys come through and nibble the tips, so I need for them to get a little bit taller before they connect to the fence. I have a gardening companion with me, Fleeter Mouse. Hi, Fleeter. Lovely zucchinis. mixed cucumbers and pole beans. Let sleeping dogs lie. Okra all down the line. Right, Fledermaus? In the distance, there are very angry ravens. We terminated our laying hen operation. Have lots of delicious chicken to stew, but yeah, that was like 45 pounds we put in the freezer this weekend, and the ravens can no longer feast off of the eggs, so I know they're angry. So thankful for this little volunteer sunflower to brighten this corner. And I planted one final head of conservation sunflowers down here. It was a tiny little head, and I wasn't sure if it was mature enough, but sure enough, got some nice little babies to replace the old ones. Rampant tomato row here. As always, tying plants up is one of my less favorite chores, so it often falls by the wayside or I get to it late. I've got radishes in this row, but the volunteer alfalfa is a little bit smothering, so I did chop that one a few days ago. These ones are more completely obscuring their radishes. We bought a 6-pack of these little pepper plants that were very tall, spindly, root-bound. Their leaves had turned this yellow color. They had huge fruits and flowers all over the top. You know, it's like forcing them. So I topped them, and they are coming back with their side shoots. Added some perennial herbs. There's a rosemary. And a sage. Get that tomatillo. Over here in the poblano pepper row, I put the French thyme. Poblano peppers are starting to get big. Swiss chard in the yard. I planted a sweet potato and it's starting to go off, so I can start cutting some of these vines and planting them around. The greens are wonderful for animals and people alike. The magnolia snap peas and lettuces and other vegetables in this row they just don't want to quit. This year has been so mild. I could use a few carrots in our dinner tonight, so let's check it out. Wow, that is a full, half-long, good-looking carrot. Oh my goodness. That one's big. That's like a big carrot. A fully length. Some nice petite ones. Those are great. Those are beautiful. I've never grown carrots like this before. Wow. So this is the corner of the horse corral, and so it had a kind of a berm of horse manure that had rotted down for a bit. So I think that'll be great for our dinner tonight. After all, we have chickens to stew. Hey, Big Daddy. How you doing, Huey? It just feels tranquil in my garden. So I've put a lot of thought into how and why I did these furrows here. And so one reason is because I did some research, and second to drip irrigation, which, has an initial outlay of expense, and then you've got things that can and will go wrong. These just use gravity to deliver water directly to the root zone. You can water deep and long. You can target water. So instead of spritzing this whole field, I just need to water directly into the furrows. And then you can deep seed plant. I read that planting corn twice as deep as recommended on the package in a 4-inch furrow and then covered with 1 inch of mulch, you're going to get a great root depth, wind and drought resilience. So that's what I've done here. I have living pathways. That's a form of cover cropping and companion planting that keeps the soil microbiology alive and well. So I don't till this whole entire area and then make furrows into that, and then usually people plant on the hill and water in the furrow. And here I plant in the furrow and water in the furrow. And I do not disturb the root sphere for the surrounding areas. And so that enables things like endophytes. They're symbiotic organisms that live inside of these native plants like the saltbush. It can share that resilience with its neighbors. And same with the rabbit brush and the native grasses. And I'm already seeing that. I'm getting some huge leeks. We got great onions this year. The only amendment I ever make is I put lots and lots of sheep and rabbit litter all over the ground. And we have plenty of fungi. It takes but a simple tool. And look at this soil. The only thing I've grown in this is a round of onions. 1 season of onions. For comparison's sake, here's just a random place over by the compost pile. And it's damp. You can tell it just rained. But there's nothing to this stuff. And it's hard. It's compacted. So I could just plant directly into this furrow. If I had transplants, I would do that. I would plug them straight in. But I want to engineer this furrow a little bit more so it drains better. This property drains slightly towards the east, just so it kind of rolls that way. So I do want for this to be the high end, and down by Huey under the salt bush there, for that to be the low end, so that I can put my hose here and let it flood quickly to the end. Over on this edge, this has 2 seasons of heavy mulch. I grew legumes here, and what did I grow in here? I grew a bunch of stuff in here. Don't remember. Oh, garlics. It didn't do that well, but now it's got this stuff. And if I put my hose in at the beginning, the amount of time it takes for all this organic material to soak the water to get to the end Man, I could put half a tote in like this one row. So a lot of the time I do have to walk along. Flood and walk, section by section. In a future visit, I'm going to show you the updated homestead mind map. It explodes heads. So future projects will include more directed, targeted irrigation solutions so that don't have to spend so many hours in the week hand watering rather than planting or harvesting or, creating other works. Won't you please support beneficial microorganisms? Mulch the like button. Cheers and blessings.